Ghostbusters was a movie in the late 1980s, and I think it was remade in the 2000s. And the theme for the movie was who you're going to call. So this week we're going to have a look at who you're going to call when you get to the stage of making that first purchase of a commercial property or a business. G'day, I'm Peter Bender from Bundaberg Commercial, and pretty well from sun up to sundown, I help people buy and sell commercial properties and businesses. There's essentially two support people that you'll be using quite extensively when you make your first purchase and also when you're selling. And they're your accountants and they're your lawyers. So we're going to have a look at those two aspects slightly differently. Now, a lot of people like their accountant because quite often the accountant knows them. They've worked with them for years. They've probably done plenty of tax returns, answered questions in regards to taxation, helped them out when they've had tax debts. They often know a lot about the actual purchase of the person, their history, their taxation, their cash flow, all those sort of aspects. So they're a natural first point of contact to call. The first thing you need to recognize, however, is an accountant specializes in taxation. And love them dearly. I mean, they're very different to me in personality, but I do a lot of work with accountants and, they refer a lot of work to me and likewise I help them off when I have clients who are looking for a local accountant. The one thing that they need to recognize sometimes is when an accountant starts giving advice on a business or something that's outside of taxation, then you need to sort of say, hey, get back in your lane, get back in your area of specialty. Don't be starting to breach your public liability insurance by giving me advice on things you're not advised to. They specialise on taxation. So if they're going to set up an SMSF fund for you, perfect. If they're going to set up a trust account, if they're going to set up a trading name, an ABM, that's the sort of stuff you want to look for. If they're having a look at profit and losses, and they will have seen a lot of profit and losses as well as create a lot of profit and losses, that's fine, let them work on that. But when they start forecasting and telling you how the business is, start to hold back a little bit. Because one thing I've found with accountants is they may have worked with hundreds, if not thousands of businesses from their clients, but they probably haven't visited more than half a dozen. And a lot of life can't be lived in a library. You've got to get out and you've got to experience life. And that's where a lot of decisions that are made in isolation based on paperwork can quite often just be absolute shockers in reality. You may have a company that has figures that indicate that it may be a slow business. It may not have a lot of profitability, but you go out and visit the property and you find, and I've seen this often the case, that there's a mountain of unreported cash, and that makes a huge difference to evaluations and ratios. Or you may have an accountant who looks at benchmarks, particularly those coming out from the taxation office, and this is a big issue in regional areas. They'll say, well, the benchmark for a retailer is 3 to 4 times turnover. Well, that retail, even though it's a benchmark, tends to be very much aggregated around major population areas. When you've got a population area of like 100,000 people like in Bundaberg, those benchmarks, they start to go out the window. They're not actually relative. And it's only when you go and see businesses and start to realise that there's more to life than the library, there's more to life than the paperwork that you need to be aware of. So by all means, get your taxation advice, get your setup advice, get the advice that you need, and be honest with your accountant. I had one that was with a client of mine, and I spoke to the client and I said, does your accountant know about what you're telling me? And they said, oh, no, we don't tell them that. Oh, okay, and does your accountant know that you're doing this, part of the business and you're funneling it through that way? Oh, no, don't go that. I said, well, they're not going to give you a lot of good advice if you're giving them garbage information. So make sure that you're honest with them. They'll protect you. And whatever you've got, they've probably already seen and heard plenty of times before. You're not going to shock them. So use your accountant wisely. There's a second type of accountant, and one that you may be able to get some solid advice from as well, is you find a lot of accountants are bridging into, not a lot, but a fair few, are branching into business advisory that recognise that life is more than just taxation. And these types of accountants will generally have one or two specialists who work on business advice. So maybe for acquisitions, maybe for purchases, maybe succession planning. So they're still accountants, they're still very strong, but they tend to be more broader. They tend to have a little bit more personality sometimes as well. It's just maybe it's the animal that they breed. So these are two types of accountants. And I do suggest when you get financials for a commercial property or for a business, go and take it to your accountant and get some feedback. But yes, once again, remember to have them focused on taxation. So who else can you call? Well, lawyers are the second one. And once again, I do a lot of work with lawyers. It's great because they're very detail orientated and I'm not. So I will quite often send work to a lawyer to take care of things because they've got the special skills. They understand the legislation, particularly contract law and commercial law. And that's an area that no matter how long I've been in commercial property, I'm never going to learn. And then when I do learn it, they're going to change it anyway. So you need to have a good aspect on it. The first thing with to recognise in regards to lawyers is there's probably two different styles. One has a personality of a bookend. You crack a joke and they either won't get it or won't find it funny or won't smile. They're just very straight down the line, very legalistic, I suppose is the word to have a look at it. It's not a criticism, it's just the way they are. They probably look at me and say, I'm off the planet off with the fairies half the time, and that's a valid comment as well. The other types of lawyers tend to be a little bit more personable, and this is where I have a look at matching my lawyers to my clients, because quite often clients will come up to me and I'll say, well, who have you got as your commercial lawyer? Oh, we don't. We had our will done 20 years ago by a lawyer who does wills and estates, but they don't have a commercial lawyer. So I have a look at matching them. For argument's sake, the legalistic ones, or the very technical ones as I call them, I use them in the complex cases. Quite often I have a sale which may involve more than one contract. Sounds a bit funny, but it may be for land and maybe for business. There's all sorts of relationships between those two contracts. There's a whole lot of tie-ins, anything that is like a conglomerate of a business. I had a business which was in construction and had various arms, not these sort of arms, but branches as they go through. I have clients who have businesses on multiple sites. All that stuff just adds complexity. That's when I bring in one of the technical people. There's one lawyer in town I love dearly. If my client says, "Oh, I'm with such and such," and every real estate agent in town will go, "Oh no, this is going to take forever," and it's very painful. It's very much into constantly changing the contracts and changing the drafts. But I'll tell you what, if it's a complex contract and it's worth several millions of dollars, I do not have any hesitation. I will tell my clients to go and see this person. But beware, it's going to be a painful process. But he's the best in the field, and I have no qualms with it. Other clients, that may be a more simpler contract, something that I can draft up and use as a standard template. I will send it to them because they will have an initial brief with them. They'll get to know them. They'll have a cup of coffee and a couple of biscuits. They'll get to know about their family. They'll know what they want to do in business. They want to know why they're selling. They will spend a lot of that quality time building the relationship, getting to understand them. And most importantly, they will walk through the client from step 1 to step 2, all the way through the process to the end. So it really is a case of matching clients to lawyers. That's if you haven't already got your own lawyer. If you do have a lawyer, make sure they can do commercial work because not all lawyers have it. I remember one of my lawyers is in a country town, and they pretty well do everybody's law. And when it came to selling a business, who was one of my clients, and they were also the clients, I looked at the lease and it was shocking. I thought, oh my gosh, who wrote this? What were they thinking about? Now, a lawyer will never mention that they're wrong, but when I spoke to him, I said, well, you've got no CPI increase in here, and there's a couple of other concepts that were just totally wrong. Like I think the name was wrong as well, had it all against the wrong legal entity, and they come up with the only comment I've ever heard is, we could have done this one better, I think is what the comment was. So just make sure that it's someone who's got experience in commercial law. Once again, accountants do taxation. That's who you go to. Legal people, there's commercial lawyers, there's criminal lawyers, there's all sorts of different streams. They can't know all of them, even the country ones that we work with. So make sure you get one that's in the stream of what you're looking for. The other part that you get a lot of help with from your lawyers is they are really the only one who can answer the question of how much will this cost? Because I will get that quite often, and I'll tell clients, look, I can tell you how much my commission is. Outside of that, no, I can't tell you. Your accountant can tell you about the GST and some of the costs, but it's really the lawyer who does the settlement at the end of the day, and they are very familiar with the land tax charges, property charges, taxation charges, commission charges, legal fees, state government, local government, rates, pro rata, all that sort of aspect. That all gets done through the lawyers. So the lawyer is the best person to answer the question when you say, how much is all this going to cost me, both as a buyer and a seller. So that's a unique position for a lawyer. They're the best ones in that spot. Another thing that a lawyer knows, and I remember I was invited to a Christmas party for a big legal firm. That's how much work I do through some of these people. And I went there because I thought this would be a novel concept. But it was a good day out. And one of the things that we picked up is the lawyers have the saying, they know where the dead bodies are. You'll find that a lawyer has known the territory that they're in, the legal area, they know all the movers and shakers, and they've known them for decades. So that includes your commercial real estate agents. And I remember I got one compliment from a lawyer this year when I spoke to him and thanked him for the work that he did for me, because it was quite a complex job. He says, yeah, I get a lot of agents ringing me up for referral work, but yeah, you're one of the not bad ones. I thought, okay, I'm a not bad one. That's pretty good for a lawyer too. That's about as much a compliment as you get, because they're very guarded with their opinions. But they will know in regards to which real estate agents are better than others. It's similar to how we would look at them. They look at style. They also look at technical prowess. So if you're looking to sign up a real estate agent, just give your lawyer a call. Say, look, I'm thinking of bringing up this person. Is that someone I should? They may say, it's not one of the worst ones. Let's see how we run with it. But they can give you a good guidance in regards to what you're likely to get in regards to quality for a commercial real estate agent. One other person or profession that you can quite often have a look at in regards to your support network is a valuer. Now, this is for both a buyer and a seller. You may be used to the term of a valuer being the person who comes out when you're seeking finance. When you seek finance, a valuer you usually works for the bank and to come out and have a look at what the actual property or the business is worth. But you can also hire them individually as yourself. So as a seller, if you've got a business that's once again, complexity is always when you start to bring in these experts. If you've got a complex business or a unique property, it may be out of the way, it may be a different construction, it may be bigger or smaller than others. If it's in the millions, I'd definitely have a look at bringing in a valuer to give you that valuation. Likewise, when you're buying a property, if you're buying a property that's worth $1 million or more, spend $3,000 and get yourself a decent valuer to come out there and have a look at it, even if you're not using, particularly if you're using cash, because the bank will bring it out anyway. But if you're not using finance, if you're going to pay cash for a big purchase, get a valuer out there. It gives you leverage and gives you a bit more confidence in regards to what the actual price is. I usually find that even if they find $10,000 difference in price and you paid $3,000, you're $7,000 better off. So have a look at using a valuer. Another aspect for valuers, if you've got an acquisition that involved maybe something like machinery or a large number of sheds and you're not really sure how old the sheds are and how much they would be cost to replace or to work, valuer does all that sort of stuff. That's their bread and butter. That's their DNA. Okay, so we looked at accountants, we looked at lawyers, and we've looked at valuers. Probably two round out points that I would say. One, if you've got a contract, don't sign it if you haven't seen a lawyer. No lawyer, no contract signature. I don't care where you're getting it from. I don't care if it's buying a bucket of fish down at the local pet shop. I don't care if you're buying $1 million business or a commercial property. If you've got a contract, take it to a lawyer. Because when I've seen the big blow-ups, it's because someone hasn't even bothered going to see a lawyer. So make sure if you've got a contract, and to date, every time I sign up a client, there's a contract as a listing agent. I have yet to see one client take it to the lawyer. I've had a few that have actually taken it aside for a couple of days and had a look at it and read it themselves and then sign it anyway. That's fine, for a matter of a phone call. But, the contracts to bind a real estate agent to a seller, yes, that's one. But when you get a contract for sale, that's definitely the time you need to go and see a lawyer, because I've seen some horrific things written in the contracts that people just aren't aware of. It's a case of they're taken advantage of. They think they've got a relationship with either the buyer or the seller or the real estate agent. Don't trust it. No contract, no lawyer, don't do it. So that's the first point. The second one is, don't come up to me and say, oh, I'm not going to go ahead with it because my accountant said, or I'm going to go ahead with it because my accountant said. The accountant or the lawyer or the valuer, they are part of your support team. You still wear the big pants. You're still the big boy or the big girl. Don't come up to me and hide behind your lawyer or your accountant. You're the one who makes the decision. They only give you advice. And I think that is probably one of the things that really differentiates experienced commercial investors from novices. Novices will want the support network to make the decisions for them. The commercial specialist, someone who owns multiple properties, they will get the advice from the lawyer, they'll get the advice from the accountant, and then they'll make the decision based on their own information, based on their own visit, because neither the lawyer and the accountant have gone and visited the commercial property. I can almost guarantee that's the case for you. So you're the one who makes the decision. Don't be coming up with the line, my lawyer said or my accountant said. Drives me nuts. And you don't want to see a guy 6 foot 2, 100 kilo going nuts. It's not pretty. Okay, so till next week, enjoy yourselves, and remember who you're going to call: your accountant, your lawyer, your valuer, whoever it is. But remember, they're just advisors. Take care and God bless.